It's back to Portman Road for 2 games in 4 days as Ipswich Town look to restart the winning run by getting revenge against Charlton. This is the Blue Monday podcast. Hello and welcome to the Blue Monday podcast discussing Ipswich Town up or down since 2015. I'm Richard Woodward, and this is the Prematch show brought to you in partnership with our friends at the Greyhound Pub in Ipswich. We're available every week on YouTube video and podcast audio. And returning to our normal time slot, Seb, how are you? Seb Brown's here. How are you, mate?
I'm good, thank you. Back from a lovely couple of days in the Lake District. My sister got married yesterday, so I've had a lovely few days. Yeah, lovely few days up there, and I'm back now. And the hangover is just kind of there in the back of my head slightly, so it's not a full-blown one, but it is there slightly. So if I come up with more nonsense than normal, you'll have to blame me.
Well, it took me about twice as long to review your script, so that might be why. But yeah, doing well. And were you able to follow the goings on? I felt like it was about 4 podcasts over the weekend. I think I was in all of them and you were in half of them.
Yeah.
It's nice to have a bit of breathing room between the matches, isn't it?
I'll be honest, I've lost track of the days again, though. I didn't realise till about midday that today was Thursday again because of the bank holiday, and then I'm off all this week. So I've kind of lost track of everything.
Friday when you think about it. I mean,
true. Yes.
Let's not let people peek behind the curtains too much about how. I mean, we could have recorded this at 3 a.m. on Friday morning, as far as everyone else is concerned. But no, we are recording this on Thursday night, and yeah, Thursday for the price of Wednesday, as I've described it. So yeah, I'll be looking forward to the weekend to bring some stability back.
Yes.
And we can do some early spoilers for next week. Are you returning for the Port Vale post-match show with Mikey on Tuesday?
Yes, me and Mikey will do our usual kind of hold the fort together for the first 30 minutes, and then you'll join in out of breath after your quick march up the hill to be the eyes from within the ground. So yes, join me and Mikey pretty much on the full-time whistle on Tuesday night, and then Rich will jump in after he's got back home to give the real analysis. But yeah, the last of the midweek games of the season is the last of the immediate post-match reactions from me and Mikey.
Yeah, so join the guys then. We'll tweak details of that nearer the time. But so Seb's plenty busy right now, as we all are. It's an exciting time, not least at the weekend and the start of 2 games in a row at Portman Road. But let's deal with next season very briefly, Seb, because talking of Portman Road, it'll have 21,000 season ticket holders in attendance, and that's it, no more.
It sounds insane, doesn't it? It sounds absolutely crazy. Yeah, they've shutting the window to buy the tickets is shut now a day early. It caused a bit of a franticness on our Telegram group with people wanting to make sure they had actually renewed because there were very few confirmation emails going out there. I must admit, I did check mine and made sure that I had mine in the basket and it was all there good to go. So yeah, outstanding, isn't it? Absolutely phenomenal. Apparently it's the highest since the 2002-2003 season, the first year back down after the relegation, where we'd redeveloped the north stand and the south stand, and we had 19,000 that year. And yeah, now, I mean, there's no guarantee we'll go up. So 21,000 fans have bought tickets with a chance of League One football for a 5th consecutive year next year. It's just crazy, isn't it? Absolutely crazy. What did Ashton came out and said he wanted? Was it 18,000 this year? I think he said. And then he's come out in the fans forum and said 21,000. That's a tick. Yes, it's a tick on the metrics in that respect. So
no,
crazy.
You just said the phrase come out. That's the Sebism. I'm just ticking off.
Oh, I thought you were ticking Mark Ashton's KPI number 1.
Oh well, I could do that. I could do
the ownership group to say, there you go. There's the 21,000 I promised you. Yeah, one of my sayings is now ticked off. Yeah. The Seb Brown pre-match bingo card is well and truly enforced tonight.
Yeah. And obviously people will be looking forward to seeing the players out on the brand new grass as well next season too, Seb, which is a perk of getting your season ticket. Do we like my conspiracy? I know we weren't going to talk about this, my conspiracy theory about why it's been capped to 21. Do you remember this?
Yeah, the more I think about it, it does make sense. So you've got this theory that you would, like you said, you would sell 25,000 if you could for budgetary purposes, etc.
Fill the whole place, wouldn't you?
Exactly. Yeah. However, I guess there's part of it they want to keep tickets available for the fans that can't come and go all the time and can't afford to commit to season tickets, which is a good thing to do as well. But also, you think that the gap, was it 9,000 gap, 8,000 gap between ticket holders versus capacity, is probably to rehouse people like myself who are sat in a rather old stand at the moment, the Cobbold stand, that maybe in the not too distant future might be earmarked for some redevelopment of its own. So yes, potentially maybe they're keeping that kind of free so we can all be shifted somewhere else for a couple of years before we return to our prawn sandwiches and halftime interval drinks, all that kind of stuff.
In the George Burley stand or whatever they're gonna. No, they'll keep the Cobbold on it though.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you got to deduct a few away supporters from that as well. But yeah, there you go. There's take it and run with it, folks. I completely made it up, and now Seb's peddling it for me, even better.
It's a good. No, when you said it, I was thinking, nah. But then you think about it logically, and it's where are they going to put those? What is it, 6,000-7,000 fans? Where could they go? So they do have to keep a backstop as a bit of a backup.
Yep. Let's move it on. ITFC Women is interesting. The season obviously coming to a slowly reaching its conclusion, given all these rearrangements. There was a false alarm on the rearrangement for the Oxford fixture, the cancelled Oxford fixture from a couple of weeks ago. I think Oxford tweeted something they shouldn't have, and there's really fierce negotiations going on there, which is great. I think what Oxford tweeted was that the game would clash with the Fleetwood game for the men's team, and that's obviously not in anyone's interest. So yeah, I think the club are working to avoid that situation. But back to league action after a bit of a break away at Milton Keynes in Stadium MK as well. And similarly, like the men at Stadium MK, were looking to be the dominant force in representing the supporter base there. So block 20 is where the away fans will be. And if you want to join us, you can get your tickets in advance, only $5, and come and bang the drum with me and try and cheer the Tractor Girls on to a successful end to their season. But going to be exciting and very much enjoying heading back to MK, Seb. I wonder, I'll pick a different, we'll kind of do with the ippy dippy on which of the chain restaurants we'll go to at the start before the game kicks off. But
is the away end the same as the away end for the men, or will it be in a different part of the ground?
The blocks behind the, what are they called? The benches. So
okay, right.
Block 20 is behind Joe Sheehan and all of the staff that will be on the town bench. So that's
there's the MK game this weekend, then there's a gap, isn't there? Then the season finishes technically on the 30th. So will they do Oxford that weekend, or have Oxford got a game that weekend in between the two, or will Oxford become the last day of the last game of the season and therefore be some sort of mega promotion shootout? Hopefully.
It could turn into that. I think probably there's an issue because the playoff game, I think, is fixed. And that's ironically, that's a Stadium MK as well, which it's really helpful having the game there. If hopefully we end up there, it's good acclimatization for that game. But yeah, I think 23rd for some reason is vacant for both teams. But Oxford's midweek game against Watford, which is another top of the table clash, was postponed midweek as well. So Oxford have got all kinds of congestion going on there, and obviously they want to resist a midweeker. I think we'd be very happy with a game under the lights, but yeah, it's getting tight and you don't want to drag it too far into the end of the season. I think it might end up having to be, but it's not necessarily in anyone's interest, particularly if the Northern Division team finishes their season at kind of the end of April.
They've then got to hang around, haven't they, before the playoffs can kick off. So
precisely. So we'll keep an eye on that. ITFC, the Women's Official Supporters Club, and obviously the club's outlets are where to pay attention there. But hopefully see plenty of folk at Milton Keynes. Let me know if you're joining us there. Very much appreciate that support. It's 2 games in 2 days for me, Seb, because obviously on Saturday it's Charlton. Let's talk about Charlton. Remind us, or for the first time maybe for some folk, tell us where Charlton find themselves in the League One table.
So currently sat 10th in the league at the moment on 55 points. They're 13 points behind 6th, the final playoff position. So I class them as being top of the second tier of League One. We've spoken in the past how, this league is very much a league of two halves, and I will crown them champions of the second tier of League One. That's where they're sitting at the moment. They've played 41 games, won 14, drawn 13, lost 14, explaining exactly why they're slap bang in the middle of mid-table. Scored 62 goals, conceded 53, so the goal difference is 9. They come into it in kind of reasonable form, I guess you could say. The last 6, so 3 wins, 2 draws and a loss. The wins were sides they probably should beat. It's Morecambe, Cambridge, and that absolute battering of Shrewsbury, which kind of saw Shrewsbury sort of nosedive their form off a little bit of a cliff. And the last time out was a 3-2 win at the Valley against Burton. So the recent form going into it is decent, and I guess they probably beat the sides they should beat, and I think they lose to the sides they should lose to, which kind of explains why they are sat where they are.
That form is 3rd best in the league right now, Seb.
Yeah, I mean, still a loss in there, so it's not imperious.
It's decent, a bit harsh.
But
There's 2 teams better than them in the form table right now.
Yeah, maybe, but the away form isn't amazing. Obviously, it's the away form that comes into play when we consider this game, because they're coming to Portman Road. Obviously, that's for the season. It's 24 points from 20 games, played 20, won 6, drawn 6, lost 8, and the last 6 there is 3 defeats, a draw, and 2 wins, which is only the 9th best. So yeah, whilst their overall form is okay-ish, the form coming to Portman Road isn't that amazing, and explains why they're 10th.
And a negative goal difference away as well. You talked about +9 for overall, but away from home, it's a -4 goal difference.
Yeah, scored 23 on the road, conceded 27, so a goal difference of -4. But don't forget that the goal difference at the Valley will be massively boosted by that 6-0 shellacking of Shrewsbury.
Good point. We always held Charlton up as kind of the template of a well-run club, but all of us very much aware of the struggles that they've had off the field, which seemingly continue right now. We've got some insider information, really, haven't we, from the fans for you there?
Yeah, I must say a huge thank you to FPL Tractor for his help with the Charlton research. I think his better half is a Charlton fan. Might be a season ticket holder. I might have given too much credit there, but provided me with amazing insight on players and general state of play and feelings around the club. So a huge thank you to FPL Tractor for the help he's given me this week with the research. And yeah, we all seen the ownership issues in the past where tennis balls were thrown onto the pitch at certain points throughout games. And Thomas Sangard is the current owner. I think when you read the things online and talk to Charlton fans, it's fair to describe him as kind of incompetent rather than malicious or ill-intended. He's certainly not asset strip the clubs like we've seen some clubs recently have to go down that kind of route. It just seems that he tends to make sort of a bit like Marcus Evans. I think you'd probably say, tends to make poor decisions, poor footballing decisions that sometimes seem strange from the outside. We'll talk about managerial turnover in the last kind of 18 months or so shortly. And yeah, I think just incompetent is probably the best word used to describe them. They've had a few takeover bids mooted throughout the season. The most recent one was fronted by Charlie Methan, who you probably remember from Sunderland Till I Die with the bright red corduroy trousers, and he was wanting to crank up
What's the attendance?
Yeah.
What's the attendance? You're fired.
Well, we don't know that she got fired for that. It's probably not wise to speculate.
Yeah,
I think editing was done very well there.
The pre-match music, though.
You really wanted to crank up the sound system. Yeah, that was brilliant. And the guy saying, well, if you don't replace the sound system, you won't get anything. And did he say, I want sort of cool Ibiza club vibes? Oh, it was brilliant. It was very kind of David Brent-esque. He kind of fronted the latest takeover, but that fell through. So they are kind of where they are with the ownership at the moment.
Yeah, well, we'll, as you mentioned, we'll talk about the kind of off-field decision-making and stuff like that. Last season, should we deal with a few bits and pieces first? Let's deal with the Burton game, the most recent, because it scares me looking at what Raksaki's doing there. 2 of his goals basically just dribbled around most of the defence and embarrassed them. And a role in the 3rd goal as well for a familiar face too. Do you want to talk to us about the Burton game, and do you also want to then go on and we have to deal with the 4-4? So let's get that.
Do we have to? When I was doing the script, I wrote it and I thought we've spent that much time, we've committed that much of our lives to discussing this 4-4 game and the ramifications it had for us for the remainder of the season. Do we have to go back over it? But fair enough, we will. So last time out is a 3-2 victory over Burton at the Valley. Raksaki scored twice, cutting from the left, a lovely goal for the first one, cutting from the right-hand side, onto his left foot, sat down 2 defenders and rifled the ball home. He gets a bit lucky with the second one. It kind of works his way to him off a deflection, and again, he fires home. And then, I think it's his shot, isn't it, that was kind of parried, and Mr. Bond, Macaulay Bond, 2 in the last 2 home games at the Valley, tapped home, and 59% possession, 14 shots, 7 on target, 3 big chances created. So a decent win for them, but Raksaki is very much the main man there at the moment. I think he's been nominated for Young Player of the Season, hasn't he? Alongside Humphreys and somebody else. So he's very, very good.
Yeah, not their player we need to add on that.
On loan from Palace. Yeah, which is strange because they're rivals. So it's just, a strange loan for them. I guess obviously Palace's main rivals are Brighton, aren't they? So maybe it's one of those rivalries that's more kind of hatred on one side of the yeah. And Raksak is obviously involved in this game at the Valley as well. Let's do it very quickly. Plough through it as quick as you can, mate. We all know 4-4, the most goals the side has put past us since Kieran McKenna took charge of us. The most goals conceded since that crazy 5-2 game against Bolton with Christian Walton and George Edmondson's debut. And it was mental. I've written the word mental in the script. I think that's how you describe it. We go 1-0 up. Edmondson, John Jules puts us 2-0 up. He then had a really good chance for a header, I think, to make it 3. Someone was blowing a whistle in the crowd. Do you remember? And they had to announce it to stop all that. And then Ben Garner gets sent off. They're 2-0 down. He does this weird thing of whipping the crowd up as he's walking down towards the touchline. And then Raksaki gets one back. Albie Morgan levels the game, and then we win it, don't we? We win it in the 91st minute with Ladapo with a great turning shot from the edge of the area. Then Morsey puts the icing on the cake, and then I think, did certain members of the Blue Monday podcast leave the ground at that point thinking it was a job well done? I'm sure Mikey on the Flagship said he left at that point to get the tube. And we all know what happens. Goalkeeping, defensive calamities, etc. Terrell Thomas gets one back on the 96th minute, 2 minutes after Morsey's put us 4-2 up. And then George Dobson, the defensive midfield sitter, on 99 minutes makes it 4-4. And once in a 10, 15 year kind of game. I remember doing the Flagship show afterwards. I think we all kind of said, it won't happen for ages, and we'll just get straight back on the bus next weekend. But then as the weeks went on and our form kind of dipped a little bit, I remember saying, we discussed, had this really messed us up and really knocked our confidence. What's your memories of it, apart from what I've just stated, the same, I assume?
Morsey's goal was both Morsey's and Ladapo's goals were excellent goals, but we will never watch them again. Long ranges from the edge of the box, weren't they? And
Ladapo's was brilliant. He gets back to goal, takes a touch, gets it out of his feet, swivels, bang, and we all went crazy. It was fantastic. Really great goals, but they'll never see the light of day ever on maybe on a niche highlights reel, perhaps. So that was my recollection. But it was just chaos, and the defending was really poor. And Cheltenham on Monday kind of rekindled a few of those awkward memories. But and then we had the Cheltenham draw after that, but then got back on track away at Exeter. So I think maybe the psychological aspect was maybe a little bit overblown, but definitely some lessons that were learned there, and hopefully not to be repeated, certainly under the McKenna era going forward. Let's drag us back to Charlton and avoid talking about that one anymore. We mentioned the kind of the managerial merry-go-round situation. Talk to me about last season, because my recollection of Charlton last season was that 4-0 victory on the last day of the season, Norwood's last goal, Backinston with the long ranger. Sunny, happy days, us all thinking of what might be to come in the 22-23 season. But manager in the dugout who was then relieved of his duties in the summer, and he wasn't the only one last season. It's a bit chaotic. Strange. Yes, they finished 13th at 59 points. Nigel Atkins is in charge at the start of the year, and he gets fired. And club captain Johnny Jackson, legend of the club, is kind of given this caretaker role and goes on an incredible run of form. He took 20 points from 9 games in his caretaker spell. They obviously make him permanent on this weird contract it was to the end of the season, and they stated it would automatically extend based on performance in the league, or I don't know what it was, but based on the team performance. And then as soon as he gets the job, he does a Jimmy Bullard, and things start to go kind of very wrong, and the form starts to suffer a little bit. And then he finishes the season okay. I think they won 6 of the last 10 and drew 1, so only 3 defeats in the last 10 games of the season. But within days of the final whistle at the end of the season, he is sacked. He's out the door, and they go and get Ben Garner from Swindon, who I think bought a couple of players with him, and I think he bought some of the backroom staff with him. So clearly quite a big kind of investment. Obviously, he was the guy that was in charge for that game back in October, the 4-4 draw. And then he doesn't last that long either. He's gone by before Christmas. So very, very strange. Like I mentioned earlier, we were talking about the owner and about potentially what seemed strange decisions from the outsiders, as outsiders looking in, what seemed to be really weird managerial decisions. There's a few examples there. Nigel Atkins is probably a safe pair of hands. We don't know what the ownership want for the club. Do they want to be challenging in the playoffs? We don't know what the expectations are. I don't know what the budgets are. It's probably top 10, but I think it'd be hard pushed to say it's probably top 6, given some of the teams that are currently down here. And it just seemed crazy. Like you said, they were always the model of consistency. When Kerbishley was the manager there, they were a club to be admired, and they went to the Premier League, and they came back down, and they went back up and established themselves, and they were classed as a role model for so long. But in the last few years, it's really fallen by the wayside. The Ben Garner appointment very much strikes me as similar to Paul Hurst in that it's a gamble from a lower league manager who's ironically just failed in the playoffs to get his team to the level that you are at. But it kind of feels like I'm not revisiting the Hurst situation and saying we should have given him more time, because that was a failed appointment from day one. But if you're going to go down that route, you at least, I think, need to commit to it. And things weren't terrible, but they had gone on a slide. But I kind of feel like you needed to give that situation time. But certainly Johnny Jackson didn't do much to merit being dispensed of either from the outside. Admittedly, he's now at AFC Wimbledon. I think he's still there. Yeah. So,
Yeah, weird situation there. But Dean Holden is the man in charge right now, and he's been involved for 20 matches so far. Seb, talk to us about how he's getting on.
Yes, he took over in December just after Garner leaves. He's managed 20 games, won 8, drawn 4, lost 8, 1.4 points per game, which is exactly what sticks them bang on in mid-table. When he originally came in, it was a deal to the end of the season, but then last month in March, he penned a longer-term deal to 2026. So I guess we'll kind of see how far he gets into that one. He had coaching spells at Oldham and Bristol City. He was Lee Johnson's assistant manager at Bristol City, moved to Stoke on the coaching team and had a spell in charge as part of the caretaker team when Michael O'Neill departed there, and playing spells at Bolton, Oldham, Peterborough, Falkirk, Shrewsbury, Chesterfield and Walsall. So never kind of played in the highest levels, but he's gone in there. He's done a reasonable job since he's been there, and that's what I guess got him that longer term extension. But I guess with an owner a bit like Sandsgaard, you're probably never too comfortable with those lengths of contracts given what he's done in the past.
Treading on eggshells. I think appointed by Mark Ashton to be the main man at Bristol City, wasn't he?
Was he?
Much maligned decision, I think.
When he got rid of... So would Nigel Pearson then have replaced him, presumably?
Yes.
Right. Okay.
So I think he was appointed because Lee Johnson went to Sunderland, didn't he?
Yeah.
So I think he was appointed at that point, if I'm right, or maybe they had a caretaker to the end of the season, perhaps.
No, there was an internal continuity appointment by Ashton that didn't go down well at all, did it?
I think it was that.
Okay, right.
I might be wrong though, but it rings a bell, and certainly I think people accused him of it being the low cost option. To be fair, we don't know how much of that was Mark Ashton or how much of that was someone else, but
yeah.
We very much know the Bristol City fan concerns or criticisms Mark Ashton's don't win. I think I'm certain my mind's not playing tricks on me on that one. But anyway, we'll move it on. How is he setting his Charlton team up, Seb?
Well, it's very much normally a 4-3-3. That's what they've used most times. I think they've used that 24, 25 times in the league. So that's their preferred method. However, they went away to Plymouth about 6, 7, 8, 9 games ago. I think it wasn't. He changed it to a kind of a 5-3-2 with almost 2 stay-at-home fullbacks. So the last time they went away to one of the so-called bigger boys in the league, they did do a formation change. So don't rule that one out. But normally it's a 4-3-3. And I guess if you're Charlton at this stage of the season, what have they got? 6 games to go, 5 games to go. You probably are going to maybe do a bit of experimentation. And away from the Valley, is it a bit easier to do that? I mean, they're on a hiding to nothing on Saturday. Their fans presumably won't expect much at all. So if you've got eyes for next season and you're going to try and mount a push to, maybe challenge kind of the lower echelons of the playoff places, is it a time where you look to maybe kind of swap things around a little bit, and maybe it's a bit of a free hit away from home? You're not going to get the crowd on your back like you would if you were doing it at the Valley against a team you should probably beat. Maybe it's, maybe that pressure off attitude might cause them to change to the 5-3-2 again.
It's interesting because I would think the opposite. I think if you are looking to establish a clear way of playing in a formation, and we know that formations are not always important as tactics and approach, I kind of feel like this is the game. Why would you deviate from that, if you see what I mean? So if the 4 at the back, if the 4-3-3 is what he wants to do, I would be looking for any opportunity to play that. And as you say, given the expectation of a result, it's quite minimal if we're being honest for Charlton at the weekend. I kind of don't see the point in deviating from that because it creates uncertainty, doesn't it? It's a different system for the players. And ideally, you want consistency and familiarity when you're playing one of the better teams in the division. Albeit, it's going to be an interesting game, and we'll come on to the stats and the possession and pass completion rates and all that kind of stuff. It's going to be interesting to see how they fare. And I also think that a 5-3-2 possibly doesn't suit Raksaki particularly well. I assume he's one of the wide 2 rather than...
Well, you could always do it, you could make it a 3-4-3, couldn't you? But you are going to, he's very much the right forward in a 4-3-3 or kind of a 4-2-3-1. So, you are going to lose some of that attacking output, aren't you, if you naturally have to have him sit deeper to try and close out a result. Yeah.
Give us some key names to look out for, Seb.
So there's, I must again thank you to FPL Tractor for all these names. We've mentioned Raksaki, he's the main guy by far. At the back, Ashley Maynard Brewer is the goalkeeper, kind of came in during an injury crisis, but he's kept the number 1 shirt and relegated Joel Woolacott to the bench, the sub-keeper option. He's kept 4 clean sheets in his 21 starts. Charlton, interestingly, have only kept 4 clean sheets away from home all season. So it's very much not a side that is built from the back or has a great deal of success kind of, keeping it tight away from home. So one to look out for which explains my score prediction that we'll come on to at the end of the at the end of the show. Right back is very much up in the air at the moment. Sean Clare is the regular throughout the season, but he's an injury doubt. Mandela Egbo came back from injury and started against Burton last weekend. Todd Kane also came on against Burton last weekend as in the right back role. So they're trying to ease those two back into fitness. Stephen Sessignon, one of the many Sessignon brothers, can play left or right. So he's an option that could come in there, or he could shift across to the left where they've got a centre-back, Terrell Thompson, currently playing out of position. But the name that sort of stuck off the page for me was Michael Hector. He's one of the centre-backs there. Him of the £5 million move from Reading to Chelsea, and then a £5 million move from Chelsea to Fulham, I think it was. And when you did the research, how many loans did you find that he had during his career?
15.
15
between
loans.
Chelsea and Fulham, yeah.
Crazy, isn't it? Absolutely crazy. So that must be that must be 7 seasons of half and half loans, mustn't it? He must spend until the January window one club and then get shifted to another. So he's there. I thought that was a bit of a coup given the kind of history that he's had in the past. And Ryan Ennis will be the other centre-back here. The kind of centre-backs will be pretty nailed on. He's made 33 appearances so far this season. Described as a red card waiting to happen. I don't know if that's through hot-headedness or through sloppy play, etc. But keep an eye on that one at the weekend.
We'll talk about the referee and his inclinations later on.
Yeah.
Let's go through the midfield. Some familiar names. One that I quite like.
Dobson you like, don't you?
Yeah, always an FM target for me.
Right, okay.
But I always kind of had him as a potential future successor to Sam Morsley, but I'm not sure whether he's got the development in him to be a Championship/Premier League player, but really, I really like him at League One level. And another midfielder who I like as well is Scott Fraser as well.
Someone you bloody love.
Yeah.
He's doing all right, to be fair, isn't he? Yeah. So Scott Fraser's finally playing in his preferred. He always said, didn't he, when he was here, I'm not a number 10. I'm not a.
He's going to be booed on Saturday. I guarantee you.
No, he doesn't deserve that.
He's going to. I know he doesn't deserve it, and I might give him a ripple of applause, but I reckon he'll get booed.
Why? He didn't leave under any kind of.
Because I sit in the North Stand, and that's the kind of stuff that we do.
No, that would be really. Surely we learned our lesson from Will Keane last season.
As in, like, I'm not saying it'll be like the stadium wide, but I think there'll be people who go, "Oh, we spent money on you, and you should have done better." Blah blah blah.
Even though the poor guy was playing out of position, living in a hotel. Yeah, no, I think that's very.
You know me. That's us. I'm aware of the mitigating circumstances, but I just fear that will happen, and I agree. It's always counterproductive. But anyway, I'm distracting you. Read on.
I think it's harsh. He's doing well this season, so he's left of the 3-man central midfield. 7 goals, 5 assists. Scored a cracking free kick to open the scoring against against Shrewsbury in the 6-0 demolition a few weeks ago. 4 of those goals and 4 of the 7 goals have come away from home. So don't be surprised if he pops up with efforts. I guess he'll want to maybe make a point at Portman Road after it didn't work out for him here. So yeah, classy, quality player who we didn't see the best of through our own fault, I think. But he's doing decently there for them. George Dobson, like you mentioned, is the club captain. He was appointed captain in December when the new manager came in. He's doing well. He's the sitter, so he'll sit back and let the likes of Fraser and then Albie Morgan, that we'll come on to, kind of push on and look to make things happen in the final third. He averages 64 touches per game, so loves to get involved. Expect the defence to kind of pop the ball off to him. He'll drop deep to pick it up and then look to make passes out to either flank to Raksaki or to Campbell on the left, and look to kind of make things happen. Out of contract in the summer, so somebody might be getting themselves a bit of a bargain. Like you said, he might not have the natural ceiling to go higher, but certainly at this level, he's a very, very competent player, a very decent player. Somebody might get themselves a bit of a bargain there. And Albie Morgan is the other one. He'll be on the right side of the 3. He's described as a hard worker, so a bit of a box-to-box option. He's got 3 goals, 7 assists so far this season. And again, having Dobson sit slightly deeper will allow Morgan and Fraser to kind of pop on and support the striker and the wide players.
In the front line, I mean, we've mentioned him so many times. Do you want to give us the stats on Raksaki?
Yeah, so 13 goals and 6 assists. He's got 5 goals and 2 assists in the last 6 games. 6 of those 13 goals have come away from home. He's the main man. He's quick. He's direct. He loves to cut inside. He's he's up against Leif Davis, so I'm not that worried because Davis is, that good. But I'm sure he's capable of keeping him quiet. And I guess the more Davis can bomb on down the touchline, he can kind of push him back a little bit as well. But no, he's a quality player on loan from Palace, so I assume next year he'll be destined for a Championship kind of development loan. Maybe they'll look to put him further up the food chain to sort of kind of see how good he is. You want him, do you? Would you have him next season?
I'd have him. Yeah. I'd also have a look at Miles Leeburn as well up front, Seb.
Yes, he's the main striker. So, son of the club legend Carl Lieburn. He missed the game last week against Burton. It was on Easter Monday, wasn't he? He missed that game with a knee problem. He said he's got an outside chance, so I'd imagine he'll probably come back in. He's doing all right this season. 11 goals, 2 assists. 5 of the 11 have come away from home. So, yeah, he's doing decently there. He's the main focal point in the 4-3-3.
And on the other side, Torres Campbell.
Yeah, not the Stoke guy. Same very highly rated player at Stoke with the same name. He's an academy breakthrough prospect in his first season. 1 goal, 1 assist in 10 appearances. So the vast majority of what they do will come down that right-hand side through rack-sacking.
And a couple of, certainly ITFC alumni from last season are in the squad as well.
Yeah, Matt Penny. So he's not featured since the end of February. He's only made 5 appearances. I think 3 were starts, only 5 appearances. So we spoke on the bite-sized edition on Saturday about Elkin Baggett's move to Cheltenham not really working out. And I guess you'd class Matt Penny in the same bracket, wouldn't you? He was doing really well up in Scotland. He was voted Player of the Month a couple of times, and we assumed it would be a mutual consent FC or a free transfer to join up there, but he got recalled, came back here for a few days, and I assume Charlton were willing to contribute more of his wage than the previous loan deal, so I guess that's why he went down there, but he's barely featured, so it would be, he can't play against us, and I guess it would be a shock if he came back in for the remaining games of the season, given he's not their player, and the fact he's made very little impact means they're unlikely to sign him. And then Macaulay Bonne, obviously we kind of, first half of last season is amazing, and we all want to sign him in the January window, and it drops off in the second half of the season. He goes back to QPR, isn't involved there, mutual consent FC, and signs for Charlton, but only 2 goals in 15 appearances. Those 2 goals, to be fair, have come in the last 2 home games, so maybe he's on a bit of a up and running and a bit of a roll. There are complaints on the socials and the forums about his offside issues, 10 offsides in 15 appearances, as we well know. I think it used to bug Dave something rotten, didn't it, on the flagships? He'd be kind of bemoaning the decision making when he was in an offside position. But he's out. It was a short term deal until the summer, and I guess it'll be interesting where he goes, because at this age he should be coming into his peak years. And unfortunately for him, after an amazing first half of the season last year at his boyhood club, it's all just kind of dropping away a bit for him, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a shame, but I'm sure he'll be wanting to be involved on Saturday, won't he?
Yeah, unlikely. I mean, if Lieburn is out with the knee injury, the likelihood is that Macaulay Bonne will probably start in that central kind of position. They've got another player, Daniel Kanu, I think it is, who's the youngest kind of third choice striker. But I think that would be a bit of a baptism of fire throwing him in at Portman Road. So Bonne went off in the Easter Monday game, and there was some suspicion there was an injury, but it turns out it was more likely cramp. So I think the chances are he'll be okay for this one, either from the bench or from a start if Lieburn doesn't make it. Because
there's other Jack Payne's an option, but he's suspended. Chuck Zaniki suspended. And Corey Blackett-Taylor injured as well. So I'm
glad Chuck Zaniki's out. Do you remember the 4-4 game? I know we said we wouldn't mention it, but that 4-4 game, he came on and he kind of turned things. He was making the ball stick up front, and he was just a big lump, wasn't he? That Wolfenden and Edmondson really struggled to deal with. So thankfully he's out, and hopefully he won't feature.
Should we do some stats? Because I think there's some stuff here that I think people look at the league table. We talked about the form, which I think is positive actually, and bodes really well for them. But there's some. We'll focus on the away stats, but there's some stuff here that's interesting. We talked about the goals scored, not particularly great. 23 away goals is the 13th best in the league. Not too many from set pieces. So largely it's from open play. So there's no real set piece. I always shudder when I say stuff like that. It's unlikely that there's a set piece threat, but you could never say never. 10 shots per game, 17th best. And only 3 of those are on target, 19th best. And an away XG of 1.18 is the 16th best, and it chimes with the goals they're scoring. So they're not creating a huge amount of high-quality chances away from home, and that kind of tells the story in terms of goals scored. But Seb, do you want to talk to us about the style of play? Because it's really high-ranking stats here for them on the way they play.
And they were last time under Ghana. I remember when I was doing the possession stats for the game back in October, I was surprised at how much of the ball they would have during games. They're 54.3% possession away from the Valley, which is third in the league behind us. We're top. And Bolton, I think, a second. So they do like to keep the ball when they're away from home. 77.1% passing accuracy is second only to us. So again, that's very strong as well. 374 short passes per game is second again to us. I mean, we always talk about we're top of pretty much every metric in the league, aren't we? So no surprise that we're kind of leading the way, but they're not that far behind us at all. 68 long balls per game is the third least in the division, behind, shock horror again, us and MK Dons. 9 interceptions per game is kind kind of the statistical anomaly. They're 14th for that, so that's not kind of a major focus of their game. But yeah, a short passing side that's pretty accurate, that will look to keep the ball. Expect to see Dobson heavily involved in that. Like I said earlier, he'll probably drop deep, pick the ball up off the centre backs, and try and sort of tick things over and keep things moving. So expect two kind of similar, I would suggest, styles of play in terms of possession and short passing.
Yeah, that being said, I found another stat, and I'll share this with you for next week because I found it was fascinating. 33% of their away match action occurs in their third. That's the highest in the division, along with Milton Keynes Dons, Forest Green, Lincoln, and Cheltenham. So I know last week we were talking about Wickham or Cheltenham in that respect.
Yeah.
About how we were surprised at the number of short passes, and we suspected it was because they were doing Lambert ball and keeping the ball in their half. That might be the situation here. 33% of the time the ball is in their third. It's not going to be just the attacking team that's going to be doing that. It sounds like it's going to be them keeping the ball between their back 4, 5, depending on how Holden plays. So maybe that's something to look out for. We are the best in respect of the least amount of match action in our third. Only 27% of the time is spent in our third. So there you go as a comparison. So yeah, maybe Lambert ball, perhaps.
Yeah, potentially.
In terms of the defensive stats, away from home, 27 away goals conceded is the 11th best, so pretty average. Only 5 goals conceded from set pieces. We love our set pieces. Is pretty good, actually, 7th best. But they're conceding pretty average amount of shots per game, 14. They're good at catching teams offside, but realistically, in terms of their away expected goals against, it's 1.5, which isn't too bad mid-table-y. And they've only conceded 1.35 on average goals per game. So they're conceding a little bit less than the chances that they're conceding, but nothing spectacularly bad there, Seb. Just pretty average, isn't it, in terms of the
It explains
stats?
why they are. If you take the possession and the short passing and the passing accuracy stats out of it, all the other stats are pretty much mid-table, aren't they? Which is a reflection on where they are in the league. So, yeah, in between 2 boxes, I guess they'll knock the ball around nicely and keep possession. And then, yeah, they're kind of meh in both boxes, I would suggest.
Apart from Raksaki, yeah.
Apart from Raksaki, yeah. But as we know, when you've got that quality player, like we had it, we had Lawrence and Ryan Fraser and Johnny Williams first time around. When you've got that bit of quality up front, sometimes the rest of the team just simply look to give the ball to that person and let them work their magic, don't they?
Indeed. One final stat before we take a little bit of a break. They are, so in the away table, if you split the league table into away games only, at halftime, they'd be 12th on the results they've got so far. In the second half, they're 22nd. So they really don't do well at holding on to their positions that they might have at halftime. So it might be, again, a game of being patient, but certainly there's some hope there in respect, or not that we need hope, but you know what I mean? There's some form there that they maybe are not a second half team. So we shall see. Very interestingly poised. We'll be back to talk about us in a second. Can we talk about me?
Innovation Labs is business hub and co-working space with strategic locations across Suffolk. Our aim is to foster innovation, entrepreneurship, business growth, and the development of an AI centre of excellence in Suffolk. Monthly hot desks are available from just £79. For more info, head to innovationlabsgroup.com or contact info@innovationlabsgroup.com. Innovation Labs, providing support for businesses across Suffolk. Locations in Stowmarket, Ipswich, Sudbury, Woodbridge, with more to follow. So
the debate really, Seb, is if not Broadhead, who, isn't it, for Town on Saturday? Your thoughts?
Well, Harness obviously came in. I could see why. I think I said it on the Flagship show, being an away game, he adds that bit of energy that maybe you need when you're away from home. I think at home and given his second half performance, if Broadhead doesn't make it, then I'd like to see Edwards get a start personally. He's direct. He's probably the most similar we've got to Broadhead in terms of running with the ball at his feet and causing, that panic, in fullbacks and opposition defenders. And yeah, I think he probably deserves a start. He was involved with the effort that Hurst smashed against the bar. He had one he put wide, himself. He drifted out as the game went on because we stopped giving him the ball, which was strange. And I guess maybe he'll deserve a start at Portman Road. What would you do? Would you keep Harness and sort of let him play himself back into a bit of form, or would you go for the more kind of maverick, chaotic option that Edwards brings you?
Maverick or Goose? Yeah, I've been an advocate for Harness, but I was
Yep.
really not impressed with his first half. Really disappointed me and frustrated me. He had the chance, didn't he, where he goes through, but he just get it on target, and then the rest of the time, I'm not really sure I'm not sure he's a good replacement for Broadhead. They're different types of players for me.
Yeah.
And I therefore bring in Edwards just for the jeopardy of it. And I assume he's got a little bit of confidence, probably more so than Harness. But I think, it's not as if it's a choice that we have said, but you'd want Broadhead, wouldn't you, every day of the week? So hopefully that's the situation, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully he's fit, and it was just a knock. He rolled his ankle, didn't he, in the game against Wycombe? So hopefully he's fit, can come back in, and maybe the 2 games, that and Port Vale, within such a short space of time, maybe a bit of a stretch for him. But hopefully get him through this one, and then maybe if you need to, you could dip him out against Port Vale, because their form's kind of dropped off a cliff. So that might be the slightly easier of the 2 games. And the rest of the side, I assume, like me, you'd agree, pretty much. We say every week picks itself, doesn't it? Yeah.
They've had a few days off, haven't they, since Monday? So no reason to, unless there's injuries that we don't know about. I don't think anyone was withdrawn in a surprising manner. So
you don't think Ladapo doesn't deserve a start? You stick with Hurst, obviously.
Yeah, I'd stick with Hurst.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think that was the intention all along, by the way.
Yeah,
I think Freddie's had a great season, made really great contributions, but I think we all knew that as soon as Hurst came in, he was going to be the number 1. So yes, we'll keep at it. And if you haven't been on Twitter on Thursday, where have you been? I mean, everything is happening on Twitter. Talk to us about this referee situation, Seb, because it might change by the time we get to the weekend, mightn't it?
Well, yeah, it sounds like the club have commented, the club have contacted the EFL for clarification, because the referee that's been appointed, James Bell, is a self-confirmed Sheffield Wednesday fan. I think it came out in a game last season between Plymouth and Sunderland, where he said afterwards, I'm a Sheffield Wednesday fan. And then, bizarrely, it's not a great look for the EFL. I mean, no way suggesting that James Bell would do anything untoward. They're professionals, and I guess at the start of the season they have to declare who they support, and therefore at that point it should be passed over to the EFL to make the correct decisions. It doesn't look good for them to appoint a direct fan of a side that we're going head to head for promotion to the league above in charge of a crucial game. I assumed, given the outcry on Twitter and the TWTD reporting it, I assume they'll make a swift change, and he won't take charge of the game. It'd be strange if he still did, and it's just a strange appointment. I don't know how it got to that stage. I'm sure it might be just an administration error within the EFL. I
kind of feel sorry for him to an extent, because
he's a professional.
None of us knew about it.
No,
and I'm sure hopefully the game happens without controversial incident, and it doesn't matter at all. And because he's a professional, and I think all of us have these situations where we might change jobs, and we might end up dealing with a former employer of ours, or you deal with a friend, and you generally, unless you're a really dodgy individual, generally you try to keep things above board. And to an extent, I wonder whether he might have been more inclined to demonstrate his neutrality by maybe erring on the side of us, perhaps. I don't know, but it just feels like a circus now, which is just unfortunate, and that's why you change it, right?
Yeah, the preparation for him, it's not fair on him. And, at this point, if he makes a call that's even remotely, unwise, shall we say, then he'll get pelters for it, and he'll be remembered for it for ages. So it's not fair for him to be put in that position. All it will take is a penalty or a disallowed goal that on hindsight with replay was turned out to be an incorrect call, and the poor guy, it could really affect his career moving forward, because he'll always be remembered as that Sheffield Wednesday fan referee that potentially could have, aided Ipswich aided Sheffield Wednesday in their course of promotion against us. So I don't think it's fair on him. I would expect a swift change, or maybe they'll just make him the 4th official or something, and bump something else to the centre circle for the kickoff and stuff. That would be the logical thing to do, I guess.
Yeah, but now the fan bases are aware of it, aren't they? So whoever comes in is going to get scrutinised, isn't it? And it's the trouble. It's these margins that we talk about, isn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't reflect well on the EFL, I don't think.
No.
I've got, no issue with James Bell. He's a professional, but the EFL, that kind of stuff shouldn't happen. As soon as you declare your allegiances at the start of a season, then the EFL supercomputer or administrative staff, they shouldn't allow this kind of stuff to happen, especially at this stage of the season. If this is game week 2, it doesn't really matter, obviously, but with 5 games to go, we've got a game in hand over Wednesday. We're 2 points, is it, behind them? At no point can a self-confirmed Sheffield Wednesday fan take charge of one of our games. Bad form, EFL.
bad form, and I think he's only. I think I read this correctly on TWTD message board. He's ref 2 town games before, and both of them were
the record is awful. Yeah, it's awful.
So that I mean, that's not that's helpful as well.
Was one of them Barrow? I think wasn't it?
Barrow and Northampton, the 3-0 against Northampton.
So that's the real quiz. Yeah, that's the reason I want. That's the reason I want rid of him. Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on. It'll be interesting to see who we got in the middle come 3 o'clock on Saturday. But
you know what will happen? We'll get somebody that will give an awful decision.
We'll
get a new ref. A blatant penalty won't be given. Macaulay Bond will tap over the 93rd minute for an offside position, and it'll be allowed to stand or something, and we'll all be bemoaning the fact that poor James Bell didn't take it instead.
Let's not clip that one up. Before 3 p.m. on Saturday, you should, as always, head to the Greyhound because they're our partner for the pre-match show, but more because Saturday's game is the annual ITFC Foundation fixture where they aim to raise awareness of what the foundation does in the community, and the Greyhound is donating 50p per pint to the ITFC Foundation from the number of pints, and I don't know if that includes water on soft drinks, but certainly alcoholic beverages. 50p from each of them are going to the foundation, courtesy of Dan at the Greyhound. So if that's not a reason to support the Greyhound and or the foundation, I don't know what is. And they'll be doing collections for the foundation at the pub, and then the foundation will be around the stadium as well. So give the Greyhound and the foundation your support on Saturday. Other bits and pieces of pluggery, as always, Telegram, head over there. Matchday chat will be in action if you're unable to get to Portman Road, and tickets are getting harder and harder to come by. So Matchday chat, really great way to stay in touch with the goings on at Portman Road. Also, in terms of Blue Monday content, we're going to keep it coming. It's relentless. We have had midweek live Q&A with Craig and Joe, still available. Flagship show back on Sunday at the normal time, 8 p.m. Get involved in the live chat with Ben and Dave, the old podcast school founders, the OGs. So join them. And we mentioned it on the top as well, Mikey and Seb, and maybe a sweaty me. If that's not a reason to come for that show, then I don't know what is as well. Port Vale, Tuesday night, straight after the game. Join us for that one as well. And as always, leave us a review. Thank you to everyone who's done that recently. Give us a thumbs up and a subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. YouTube numbers are great, but we also love our podcast folks as well. So we appreciate you too. Please do leave us a review. And I think, Seb, I can't leave it any longer. Let's do some predictions. So Ben Bloom in the host chair for the last round. Our mate Neil on Telegram stepping in as well. And success for Telegram. 2 correct scoreline predictions there for Morecambe v Plymouth and Oxford v Sheffield Wednesday is enough to give Telegram their 4th round victory of the season, and Ben's got enough to get 2nd place with the Forest Green Derby score, and Seb back down to earth. When I'm not here, you don't turn up.
Not bothered. Care.
No, don't care. You're like every team that beats Ipswich.
I'm Cambridge, I'm Oxford, all of those, You're raise myself for the big occasion the following week. Don't care, mate.
Yeah, you're Ben Garner after getting sent off at the Valley, aren't you? Let's have a look at where we're going this weekend. A big one at lunchtime. Seb, what's your thoughts about Plymouth playing first? Does it matter?
I was wondering this when I saw, because I didn't realise it was a lunchtime kickoff until I did my submissions for the prediction show. I don't know. I mean, is it a bonus? Is it put the pressure on them? I think I'd rather go first personally, sort of, set your stall out and then kind of say to the chasing pack, there you go, we've done our bit, off you go. So I think I'd like to, I don't mind that. I'd like to go first, I think, and kind of lay down a marker, so to speak.
Lay down a marker.
For the rest of the league. But we've both got a draw, haven't we? Different scorelines. We're both going for more drop points by Plymouth. It's
a local derby.
Yes.
That's what I'm basing it on. And I thought
didn't they run them
really
quite close at home park? Was it
park?
4-2, but two late goals.
The 2 late goals I think skewed it. I think Exeter took the lead twice, didn't they, as well?
I think they did 1-0 up and then 2-1. Yeah, I'm sure they did. Yeah.
So
come on, Raheem, the dream player of the season, Harper, to smash in the winner in the 90th minute would be lovely scenes.
Agent Harper, fair play to Neil. He's going for an Exeter victory there, so
that would be amazing.
Maybe even more wishful thinking. But it is the flip side of your you're laying down a marker. You're are we setting your stall out, by the way, to your Sebisms, by the way?
Are we?
I don't know. I'm just putting it out there. But if you lose or drop points, do you not galvanise Sheffield Wednesday and Ipswich?
Maybe, yeah, potentially.
Yeah. I just want to play them all at the same time if I was any of the three, but hey ho, there's nothing we can really do about anyone else's games from miles away, can we? We just need to worry about ourselves. We've all got Sheffield Wednesday continuing their resurgence. So Burton, tricky opposition, aren't they? And recently beat Barnsley with a bit of fortune, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, it was just because of the handball that wasn't spotted on the line in that one, I think. I know they won 2-0, but yeah, I think had that been spotted and a penalty is given, it's a very, very different game. But Wednesday kind of bounced back with a 3-0 win against Accrington, didn't they? So I think they'll probably get back on it now. And
we're expecting Barnsley to win to 0 as well away at Forest Green. Forest Green get relegated this weekend?
I don't know. Is that okay? Yeah, I guess we're in that time of year now, aren't we?
'Tis the season. I should have put the league table up, so apologies for riffing on this as we go. But they are how many points from safety? Wow, they are 14 points from safety.
Oh, definitely, because of
41 games. So I think that might be it for them.
Yeah.
Farewell, Forest Green. Maybe this might be the last time we ever play them. Who knows? Finally, though, the big one. I mean, there's games elsewhere very quickly. Peterborough, Cambridge is a bit of a derby match, isn't it? You're going for a Peterborough win in that one. I think Cambridge might turn up, and Cambridge have a little bit of a rally, haven't they, of late? So I'm hopeful that Cambridge might disrupt
Peterborough in form, though, aren't they? They're really doing. They've always got goals in that side. I mean, that game against them is looming on the horizon now, isn't it? Next weekend.
Yeah, so I'd want to knock them off their stride a little bit. So Cambridge, it's a derby for them, isn't it? Just as much as the Ipswich game was for them. So maybe they'll turn up for that one. The shit houses that they are. I like Cambridge fans. A derby away at Bristol Rovers. We're expecting a tough trip to Bristol Rovers. They are decent at home, aren't they?
Yeah.
And frustrate teams. Though Neil on the Telegram group not expecting Bristol Rovers to do any favours for them. Wickham, we're all a bit confused about Wickham, and same with Bolton, actually. Oxford might be a tricky place to go. But we're all predicting a 2-goal margin win. But you think Charlton will score like Neil does?
Yeah, Raksaki. He's a quality player. No, they've got goals in the side, Raksaki and Leeburn up front. And yeah, Scott Fraser maybe come back to Portman Road looking to make a point. So I think we'll win. I've gone for the 3-1, but I think we might concede, and that's not a bad thing. You think we'll get back on the saddle with the clean sheets again, do you?
I think McKenna will want to do that. Yeah, I think we'll be really keen to do that. So it might not be as expansive and open as we might do. And given we're not playing in Charlton and the what is it, the Suzuki, the completely Suzuki, or Suzuki, what was it?
Completely Suzuki Stadium.
Yeah, as opposed to the partially Suzuki Stadium. Because I think conditions are more likely to be in our favour, and hopefully the weather as well. I think McKenna will want a clean sheet, and that will be the message. So hopefully that isn't at the expense of scoring goals down the other end, but I have that sense. And I think McKenna will want to keep a clean sheet, knowing that Charlton hit 4 past us in the previous game as well. So I think that narrative might be in his head. Whether he achieves it is another thing altogether. So we shall see. We'll be back next week to see how we've got on, and it's getting. It's running out of weeks to predict.
It's not long. Yeah, not long to go at all now, is it? We've got this weekend, then the Peterborough weekend, Exeter at home, that penultimate weekend of the season, and Fleetwood away. Yeah, it's really ticking off now, isn't it? We'll have 2 consecutive 3-game weeks, won't we? We've got this, Port Vale and Peterborough, and then we're at Barnsley away, obviously, in between Peterborough and Exeter. So the games are coming thick and fast. But isn't it great to be involved in it at last, rather than thinking, right, well, we're going to finish 11th, and maybe there's a couple of academy prospects we could give a debut to, and wonder what we'll do next season. Yes, it's a much better way to have it. I know it might be a bit tetchy and nervous and fraught for the remaining 5-6 games of the season, but it's much better to be involved than to be sat outside looking in.
Yeah, enjoy yourselves. I think that's the way to think about it. Totally spot on, Seb. And yeah, we'd have given anything to be involved in it last season. We are now. Pack out Portman Road, get behind the team. There will be ups and downs. That's my favourite word. Don't catastrophize. It's everything is on until it's not. So there you go. That's the message from Seb and I. And we'll be back to see how we got on with our predictions next week. It reminds me, are you available next week, Seb? Are you available for selection?
For the podcast?
Yeah, for next week.
No, I'm not for the pre-match show. I'm not. No, I'm heading back to Suffolk on Thursday night, and I'm not available on Friday night either because I'm down there. So, unfortunately, someone will have to step in. I can still do the research. Don't worry about that. But a much wiser.
I don't care about that. I can do the research. I'm just more, if in terms of selection dilemmas, who would you pick to be in your place?
Who's got the best record? Ben's got a pretty strong record.
Do you want to tap up Ben to be the contributor?
Yeah, I can't think what the respective records are. When Joe was on, you lost to Wickham, I think. That was the pre-Christmas defeat to Wickham. So we might have to cast him as a bit of a pre-match show curse. So we'll find somebody suitably who can come and sit in for me, and hopefully there'll be a lucky charm. Well,
maybe we'll cancel it. Maybe it's just our thing. No, we won't. We'll keep it going because Ben had it going.
Maybe you should just do it. Just you for an hour. Yeah, just talk for an hour and just do that, and then
If you want a me only don't let me know that. Don't let me. No, I can't imagine anything worse for a lot of people. Seb, thank you as always for your research and your predictions. Very much appreciate that. Thank you everyone who's made it this far as well. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on YouTube, or subscribe if you haven't already, and give us a 5-star review. Why not on our podcast, on your podcast app of choice? We thank the Greyhound. We thank Innovation Labs for their continued support. Go and support the Greyhounds fundraising for the ITFC Foundation. And I think, Seb, that's all I've got to say, apart from join the guys for the flagship show. I think we've done good business, just less than an hour as well. Nice efficiency. Any final thoughts from you?
No, I guess it comes back to me because we had you doing it, and obviously the Cheltenham draw changes things. So I assume it now flip reverses to me. So I'll keep it short and sweet. Just win. Doesn't matter how you do it. Just win. Thank you to FPL Tractor again for his insights and his hard work with the research. Much appreciated. Beat Charlton, beat Port Vale, and we'll be top of the league going into the Peterborough game. Come on, you Blues!